NASA says there is evidence salty water exists on Mars and could possibly support microbial life on the planet. US and Russian leaders at the United Nations blame each other for the war in Syria. Street vending is illegal in Los Angeles, but that hasn't stopped some people from doing it.
This is Valley View News.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Ashton Smith.
And I'm Victor Park. Thanks for joining us. NASA says strong evidence of water has been found on the surface of Mars. Imagery from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter reportedly confirmed that salty water, known as brine, flowed down Martian slopes. It left dark streaks on the planet's surface that were analyzed with advanced equipment. Scientists don't know where the water is coming from or how much is there. Scientists say ice inside Mars may be melting and spreading out. Researchers have known for many years that Mars has frozen water in its atmosphere and on its surface. But the discovery of the flowing water on Mars could be a breakthrough in the search for life there.
The CSUN Center for Urban Water Resilience is working on ways to conserve water and use it more efficiently. Maria Cartaya is in Studio B with the director of the center to talk about this important goal.
Joining us today is the director for the new Center of Urban Water Resilience, Mike Anthas. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us first, why was the Center for Urban Water Resilience created?
So it was chartered inside the College of Social Behavioral Sciences back in February of 2015 to support that college and other colleges on campus working on water issues, water research here on campus, but also engaging with the community around campus that might need help or research related to water issues.
Great. How is this center, do you think it's going to help fight the drought that is going on right now?
Well, we're in our fourth year of drought, as you know, and the center's interest in urban water issues, of course, at the moment is focused on drought because that's what most people are focused on. But our challenges of water in Southern California, today it's drought, but one day soon it might be flood. It will always be a question of how we get enough water resources to us here in Southern California because we have way more people than we have local water. So the drought in particular, the kinds of work that we're doing is trying to bring attention from, especially for the students, on the issues around drought. Sometimes it's hard for someone who came from far away or who lives in a dorm to really think about the drought in their minds every day. So trying to bring attention to it is certainly one of the things that we're working on. But then also helping the region and all the agencies that manage water in the region learn how to better handle this cycle of plenty and then drought that we might live with in the future. The climate change experts are all telling us that this is likely to be part of our pattern for many decades to come, is drought some years and too much rain the others.
Do you have any idea of the reduction rate if people are actually cutting off water usage?
So the governor issued a request, started as a request, then it became a demand that the state conserve, and that whole process came down through a state agency called the State Water Resources Control Board, which are the water regulators at the state level. They also, as part of their approach to drought, have been demanding that people submit data. So all the various companies and agencies that deliver water to people in California have been submitting their data of water use monthly since earlier this year. And much to everyone's surprise, both in August and July, the state, at a sum total, reduced by about 33% over what they used 2 years ago, which is a much bigger number that came much faster than anyone really predicted. So we do know fairly comprehensively that the state is conserving lots of water compared to what we used in 2013. How that plays out to any particular person is harder to judge, but at the broad scale, we know there's a lot of conservation going on.
So at least we've seen an improvement.
Yeah, very much so.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, happy to be here.
Great. Unfortunately, this is all we have time for today, so back to you at the studio.
President Barack Obama has addressed the United Nations General Assembly, saying it is vital that nations work together. Obama says reaching common ground with nations thought to be enemies of the United States resulted in a historic nuclear deal.
For 2 years, the United States and our partners, including Russia, including China, stuck together in complex negotiations. The result is a lasting, comprehensive deal that prevents Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon while allowing it to access peaceful energy.
The president said the U.S. will continue to use military forces to fight ISIL and is willing to work with any nation to solve the conflict.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says he is going to cut income taxes for millions of Americans.
Major tax relief for middle income and for most other Americans. There will be a major tax reduction.
Trump made the announcement at a press conference at Trump Tower where he unveiled his plan to revamp the tax code. Under Trump's proposed plan, people who make less than $25,000 would pay no income tax. The Trump tax plan comes after he was pressed to provide more details about how his administration would govern.
Unlicensed street vendors continue to be a controversial issue in Los Angeles. The sidewalk sellers have been criticized by health officials and many store owners, but many other people support them and buy their food. Valley View News reporter Noemi Barajas takes us to the streets the vendors work.
Street vending is illegal in Los Angeles. An estimated 50,000 people come out every day to sell food all around the city. Street vendors are able to get a business license, health letter grade, and a permit, but they will not be protected until it becomes legal. This woman is one of those vendors who are just trying to bring food to the table for their family. During the 10 years she's been selling fruit, she has been arrested once and has had her merchandise confiscated by the city several times. I have tried getting a permit, but unfortunately, they always ask for documents and I don't have any. She says she's tried to look for a job that offers better pay, but due to her circumstances, she is not able to get one. Many street vendors risk losing everything because in most cases, that's the only income they get to support their family.
But with the help of the legalized street vending campaign from the East Los Angeles Community Corporation, they're one step closer to not having to worry every day.
Some of the things that we advocate for is to make sure that it's accessible, right? That the prices of these permits don't exceed what, people who are actually trying to make a living, starting from the ground up, are able to afford. That's super important. Another thing is we're looking for immigration status to not be questioned and for documentation of immigrant status to be asked when they try to get these permits.
Organizers say if street vending is legalized, it will bring them to the mainstream economy and contribute to local, state, and federal tax revenue.
They should let us get a permit so we can sell, because either way we do it, So it'll be better for both of us, them and us, giving us a permit, we pay and they get paid.
As of now, street vending is considered a misdemeanor and people can get fined anywhere from $200 to over $1,000 depending on how many times the vendor has been fined.
Not doing anything now isn't a solution, right? And over-regulating isn't a solution either, right? You can't have all these barriers that will force people to have to go out of the system to, again, make ends meet. You have to make sure that you, at the end of the day, it's about the vendors, and we have to consider their needs, right, when we adopt a policy and making sure that their needs are met.
People from the legalized street vending campaign have already gone to 6 community hearings to try and get a permit system. They want to bring more awareness because if street vending ever hits the polls, they can get more support. In Boyle Heights, Noemi Barajas, Valley View News.
Man's best friend now has a new job. Many airports are using specially trained dogs to calm nervous passengers. Valley View News reporter Joanna Guzman got a chance to see the tail waggers in action at LAX.
Traveling can get hectic and create anxiety, which is why Los Angeles International Airport, along with other airports around the world, have incorporated therapy dogs to enhance their customer experience. The dogs and their owners walk around the terminals for 2 hours, bringing happiness and peace to passengers. Passenger Dana Shaw says how seeing the dogs helps her.
I am flying by myself, and actually, come to think of it, my mother uses her dog acts as a therapy dog for when she's flying, so she brings her dog on board as well. So I know the difference that a well-trained, well-behaved, and full of love dog can make to a person on a flight.
Hi, Maggie. I know it's exciting.
But Maggie and Jasmine are not just any dogs. Trainer and volunteer Nadine Leatherfine tells us more about them.
The dogs have to be registered therapy dogs. You are registered as a handler and a dog as a team. And it's pretty rigorous testing. They have to be able to be around chaos, people running, people dropping luggage next to them. We had a guy one day riding a skateboard through the terminal. crying children, alarms going off of people opening doors that shouldn't be opened, and they have to be able to just stay calm.
With their love and charm, these therapy dogs have not only brought happiness to passengers, but also to LAX employees. Flying can be stressful, but Maggie and Jasmine are here to ease your pain. In Los Angeles, Joanna Guzman, Valley View News.
A fatal stabbing has occurred in Glendale. Valley View News reporter Jordan Salcedo gives us information on where the crime took place.
The incident in its interesting location occurred on East Broadway Street, just steps away from the courthouse and down the street from the police station. Police say a man has been stabbed to death and another injured outside the Glendale courthouse. Authorities say it happened around 2 in the morning. Police got a call from the injured man from a call box located outside of the police station. Sergeant Robert Williams says the man said nothing about another person.
The officers didn't really get a chance to talk to him much other than he said that he had been stabbed. The preliminary investigation with the officers on scene, they kind of followed his blood trail across the street to the front of the courthouse, where they found another individual that was down and appeared to be deceased and had some stab wounds as well. So it appears that he was, the second individual was stabbed to death as well.
Police say they have not identified the deceased man, who is believed to be in his 40s. Police also say the second man, who was admitted to the hospital, is in stable condition. Back to you in the studio.
Court reporter Linda Deutsch has covered some of the biggest trials of the century, including Charles Manson, O.J. Simpson, and Michael Jackson. She has recently retired after 48 years on the job.
Valley View News reporter Alexei Shabashian sat down with a Los Angeles journalist to discuss her experiences.
Thank you. Today joining me is legendary court reporter Miss Linda Deutsch. What was the hardest part of being in the courtroom?
Being in the courtroom at very high-profile trials, you have to basically be able to keep your eyes everywhere. People have said I had my eyes in the back of my head, an extra pair, because you had to see everything going on, not just the front of the courtroom where the judge sat and the witness sat, but the audience where the families and the victims often sat. And you had to be able to absorb all the emotions surrounding that area. It was also, in many trials, it was a very emotional experience. Testimony in some of these trials is very gruesome, and some people can't take it. But for me, it was always taking notes, making sure I got everything down, and basically I had no time to cry.
What are your approaches on how to give a fair trial or fair coverage in that fact?
Well, the fair coverage is my job, and the idea is to not take sides. No matter who the defendant is, no matter who the prosecution is, my job is to tell both sides and let my readers or my audience decide what they think the outcome should be, and let the jury decide what the outcome will be. It's just making sure that you don't inject opinion, which I never do. I have no opinion about what the outcome of a case should be while I'm covering it.
Did covering huge trials change your views on the court system?
Covering trials has to change your views because you're inside. You're seeing how it really works. And I think I came to the conclusion that while people say there are flaws in our system, I think it is the best system that has ever been invented. And I've looked at the judicial systems in other countries. I don't think any of them works as efficiently as 12 people drawn from the community, putting their ideas together and listening to the evidence and coming up with a verdict.
What case brought your views out the most from that, or changed your views the most?
Well, I think from the very beginning, I started with very high-profile trials, the Sirhan trial, the Manson trial, the Pentagon Papers trial, the Angela Davis trial, you name it, they were all cases I covered. And people came into them with set ideas. The public had ideas about what was or wasn't going to be the outcome. And in the end, it was only up to the jury, and I realized that, and that you never knew what the jury was thinking. It was impossible to predict a verdict. And so, in the end, every verdict is a surprise.
Interesting. As a female court reporter, how were you able to surpass the glass ceiling and be taken serious as a reporter?
I actually had very little trouble because I was a woman. Other than being not paid equally with men, I was respected for my work, and men were actually wonderful mentors for me. But I know that not all women have that experience. I had both men and women as mentors, and mentors are very important in getting you started. But as a woman, I was, when I first came to the AP, the only woman in the Bureau, and I found it not a handicap, not particularly an advantage, but certainly you had to prove yourself, maybe a little more than the men had to prove themselves. But once you proved yourself and were accepted, then everybody was willing to work with me.
Did you ever feel any neglect or pressure from your male reporters?
No. No, I think that after a while they all realized that we were working together. On several of the trials I've done, I've had male reporters working as my backup, and they were very helpful and very, much part of the project. We worked for the Associated Press, which is by its nature a collaborative enterprise. You always have several people working a story, and I found that I had great support from my colleagues.
Now with the high usage of broadcast media, how has that affected the courtrooms?
Well, the O.J. Simpson trial was the first really big trial that was covered gavel to gavel on television. And it was very controversial, and because of the way it came out, which a lot of people didn't like, the fact that O.J. was acquitted, a lot of judges no longer wanted cameras in the court, and there were a lot of fights about that. His civil trial, there were no cameras. I think the judge particularly didn't want to be known the way that Judge Ito became known. There's a lot of personal feedback from the participants when it comes to deciding if a camera should be in there. It's not just the public interest. It's fine with me if you want to have a camera in the courtroom. I think it's helpful to the public. It helps educate them on the process. But it is always up to the judge.
All right, thank you for joining us today.
Sure, you're welcome.
Coming up, a tragic death of a high school quarterback in New Jersey.
And baseball playoffs are beginning to take shape.
Hey there, Mrs. Carter. You can earn over 10% on your money if you deposit your savings into our investment program.
You are lucky sweepstakes winner.
Mrs.
Just
Carter,
enter your contact information and your winnings will
Grandma,
be
it's me. Please help me. I'm stuck in Ohio and my wallet was stolen. Please send me some money so I can get home.
Millions of people, especially seniors, are targeted every day by an array of fraudulent scams through online technology. Please be aware.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
And now let's go to sports with Joanna Guzman. A football tragedy has taken place in New Jersey, hasn't it?
Unfortunately, it has. A New Jersey high school quarterback has died after being tackled in a game. Evan Murray reported feeling dizzy after the hit and was taken to a hospital. Officials did not immediately give details about his death. Many people took to social media to show support for Murray's family. A GoFundMe page has raised nearly $50,000 for the family. Louisiana State University running back Leonard Fournette ran for a career-high 244 yards and scored 2 touchdowns against Syracuse. LSU won 34-24. It was the 5th game in a row that Fournette ran for 100 yards. He has 800 yarders in his career. ESPN Stats and Information says he is the first running back in LSU history to rush for 200 yards in consecutive games. Fournette is on pace to break records in total yards, touchdowns, and yards per carry. It's no surprise he's an early favorite for the Heisman Trophy. The president of FIFA says he's not stepping down, even though Swiss officials are investigating him for allegedly misappropriating FIFA money. Sepp Blatter gave 2 million Swiss francs to a European soccer official, Michel Platini. Both men says the money was for legitimate work Platini had done. A number of FIFA officials were indicted in the U.S. last May, accused of fraud and money laundering by the U.S. Justice Department. Attorney General Loretta Lynch says the investigation is not over. The Kansas City Royals and Chicago Cubs have both clinched playoff spots. Kansas City beat the Cleveland Indians 3-0 to clinch their spot. Chicago stopped Pittsburgh's 8-game win streak for a 4-0 victory. The Cubs celebrated their first postseason since 2008. They made it in part because the San Francisco Giants lost to the Oakland A's. The Los Angeles Dodgers also came close to clinching a playoff spot, but they lost to the Colorado Rockies 12-5. LA's magic number to make the playoffs is currently at 2. That's all for sports. Back to you guys.
Coming up, a festival celebrating Italian culture.
And Chris Brown is denied entrance into Australia.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
You love their music. Why would you steal it? When you illegally download your favorite band's music, they might just disappear. Downloading music without paying for it is just not cool.
Chris Brown is back in the news. Let's go to entertainment with Arnulfo Romero.
Thank you, Ashton. Australia's immigration minister says Chris Brown might be denied entry into the country for his concerts in December. This is because of Brown's 2009 assault of his then-girlfriend Rihanna. The minister said Brown is not of the character they expect in Australia. The R&B star now has less than a month to present his case for a visa to perform in the country. A celebration of a European country's history, heritage, and culture has recently taken place. Valley View News reporter Ala Arabi tells us all about it.
There's singing and music. There's dancing and food. And even more singing. It is the San Gennaro Festival. Celebrating Italian culture and Italian food, children and their parents and young adults come to enjoy a festive weekend.
It's a great night. We have a football game going on. We have Italian food, music, lots of guys in tracksuits. Really, what more do you want on a summer evening?
The festival was buzzing with life despite the humid weather.
The turnout, pretty good for a Friday night. It's very hot out.
But that didn't stop the Horonis Ranch from bringing its delicious grapes again for the 4th year.
It's just a wonderful thing where people can come and enjoy and experience a different culture.
And the grapes, Greg?
I swore off all other grapes. I truly believe these are the caviar of grapes.
The evening was filled with family and friends just enjoying the games, food, and dancing.
It feels like home because LA is so big, and this feels like you always run into friends and you eat good food, and it feels like makes it a small town. I hope it keeps going for another 10 years.
It's really fun. We've actually performed, I think, every year since 2012, and I am Italian, so it's great to come and kind of be with my people and have all the food.
The festival also featured several vendors and fun for the kids.
And there you have it, folks. That was the first day of the San Gennaro Festival. And if you missed it, don't worry. It's going to happen again around the same time next year. In Hollywood, I'm Ala Arabi for Valley View News.
Oh, well, that event looks very fun. The hit TV show CSI is coming to an end after a 15-year run. The show will close with a 2-hour series finale. Both current and original cast members will appear for the epic finale producers have titled Immortality. The show first aired in 2000, and within a year, it became the #1 TV show. Producers have created 3 spin-offs: CSI Miami, CSI New York, and CSI Cyber. The 2015 fall TV season has kicked off. The Vampire Diaries will begin its 7th season without one of its main characters. Nina Dobrev is out after starring as Elena Gilbert in the CW Supernatural drama series. Dobrev decided to leave the show, but says she is excited to see what the new season will look like. 60 Minutes began season 48, and ABC's Grey's Anatomy began its 11th season. Also from ABC, Scandal, Once Upon a Time, and new series Blood and Oil. Fox's breakout drama Empire has begun season 2, and over at AMC, The Walking Dead will begin season 6. The animated sequel Hotel Transylvania 2 now holds the record for September opening at the U.S. box office. The film made over $47.5 million, beating the Robert De Niro comedy The Intern. The Intern came in second with an $18.2 million opening week. The sci-fi sequel Maze Runner: The Scorched Trials has slipped from first place to third place. Also in the top 5 was disaster flick Everest and Johnny Depp mob movie Black Mass. Well, guys, that concludes the entertainment segment of the show. And I saw Everest, and I must say, for a disaster movie, I thought it was a little boring. But that's just my opinion. Back to you guys.
Bike riders are taking classes to educate themselves on safety precautions. Valley View News reporter Maria Leal took us along the ride.
It can be easy, fun, good for your health, but dangerous. Bike riding can be used for fitness, transportation, and to experience nature. The Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition has organized several smart cycling classes around the LA area, along with funding from Metro and the California Office of Traffic and Safety. The free bicycle safety classes are taught by league cycling instructors. The courses offer 2 sessions, 4 hours of classroom instruction or 5 of hands-on. These classes try to eliminate some of the myths that keep people off bikes. Rachel Shepler, who attended the in-class session, says that after many years, she wants to learn how to ride her bike and about safety.
You know, there are folks like me who don't necessarily know the rules of the road. You know, I had a bike, but I've been primarily a car user most of my life, and working in Santa Monica has really inspired me to use alternative means of travel.
If more people were to take bike safety classes, it can prevent collisions by showing you how to follow rules to keep and make you feel safe on the road.
The ultimate goal is for individuals to gain confidence to use their bike for daily trips, as opposed to driving a car because they feel safer. Josue Perez attended the hands-on session and says that these classes will prepare him for any bump on the road.
It's been great. I fell once, but that's understandable. It's going to happen when you start off learning, but you get the confidence to be able to get back on the bike and continue riding.
Bike riding should be fun and not something that makes you afraid. Overall, bike safety classes allows the community to work together to make significant changes on the road. In Los Angeles, Maria Leal, Valley View News.
Thanks for watching this edition of Valley View News. I'm Ashton Smith.
And I'm Victor Park. Have a great day.